Hi guys, today we're taking a look at the new Moza R25 Ultra wheelbase and comparing it to its closest competitor, the Fanatec Podium wheelbase DD2. Details are in the description below, including purchasing links. So I'll be testing each one of them out in terms of their quality, how they perform and feel, together with comparing them against each other to give you my overall impressions with any pros and cons to give you a better idea of which one you should go for. But before I begin, if you're new to the channel, hope you can support me by subscribing and hitting the bell icon to get notified of my next release. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. Let's begin by looking at what you get inside the packaging. Price wise, the Moza R25 Ultra is just under $900. Opening up the box, inside you get a user manual and some stickers. Underneath here you have a power lead with a kettle connector, a bag containing a USB-A to USB-B cable, a bag containing some screws and an Allen key, a large power adapter, and finally the R25 Ultra wheelbase, which is really heavy. Coming over to the Fanatec DD2 Podium wheelbase, and price wise this comes in at $1,600. Opening up the box and you get a braided USB-A to USB-B cable, two RJ12 cables, a travel adapter which takes a European plug and connects to a UK socket, a power cable with a European plug and a kettle connector, a kill switch with a remote power button, the Podium wheelbase DD2, and this feels really heavy too. Some instructions and stickers, a spare RJ12 connector, some screws, and finally the power adapter. Taking a closer look at the Moza R25 Ultra, it's Moza's most powerful wheelbase. It weighs 12 kilograms and has a rectangular shape made from a rigid aluminium alloy casing all the way round with fins on the top and sides. It's completely different from their previous high-end wheelbases, so the R16 and the R21, with the design fitting in closer to the existing wheelbase range from the R3 to the R12. It has the R25 Ultra and Moza branding embossed into the sides of the wheelbase, together with two LED strips at the top on either side. Coming around the front, it has the Moza branding embossed at the top, together with a wheel mounting point with Moza's excellent quick release system. Over to the back, and that also has a strong plastic cover with Moza Racing written at the top in a glossy finish. Below that is the connection ports together with a power button. Mounting wise, you've got 4 holes underneath, 4 at the front and 2 on either side, supporting bottom, front and side mounting, giving it the maximum flexibility for mounting and accommodating any range of cockpits. You also have 2 smaller holes at the top for mounting one of their digital dashes. The wheelbase is able to provide a massive peak torque of 25 Newton meters. It's compatible on a PC, and you can get Xbox support by getting the ESX steering wheel, which provides the Xbox compatibility via an encryption chip in the wheel rim. Build quality wise, the R25 Ultra has an excellent feel to it, with the wheelbase on its own costing $900, with you having to pay for additional accessories on top of that, like a wheel and pedals. Over to Fanatec's Podium DD2 wheelbase, which for Fanatec is one of their most powerful wheelbases. It weighs in at 13 kilograms and has an all aluminium housing in matte black with carbon fiber cover plates on the top and sides. At the front you've got Fanatec written, and below that you have the connection point where you can connect your steering wheel. The newer wheelbases have the newer QR2 connector. I've got an earlier model which has the QR1 connector. The collar for this is painted gold and supports their full range of wheels with the quick release mechanism, plus there's a nut which you can turn to lock the wheel into position. At the top front there's a 2.7 inch OLED display which has a 256 by 64 resolution, which gives you the ability to tune the wheelbase and see real-time motor and force feedback info. Coming around the back you have a power button and the connection ports to connect all your accessories, including the power input. Underneath you've got 5 holes for mounting the wheelbase to a sim cockpit, plus there's also mounting holes on the front and sides, providing a lot of flexibility in mounting it. It has a solid build quality, with it also providing 25 Newton meters of torque, plus it's PC and Xbox compatible, with the Xbox compatibility coming via a wheel rim just like Moza. And price wise, the wheelbase alone costs $1,600, and just like with Moza, you'll have to pay for additional accessories on top of that, like a wheel and pedals. When it comes to the maximum torque on these wheelbases, I've got to say 25 Newton meters is absolutely insane, and it makes you wonder how the pro racers would even be racing with it on max torque levels. As for a comfortable racing experience, you really don't want to be feeling as if you're fighting with the wheel while racing. And worth noting that if you're racing at the max with these insanely high torque levels, it can be quite dangerous, especially in situations where you lose control and get your hands in the way, as you'll end up getting an injury if the wheel smacks into your hand. Hence why Fanatec gives an emergency stop button regardless, which personally I think Moza should have done too, but Moza do sell them separately for $49. So if you're thinking about getting a wheelbase at this level of torque, it's actually not really all about racing at 100% max torque levels, with it giving increased responsiveness. The advantage of the additional power is that you have a lot more running capacity where you don't have to run the wheelbase at maximum torque level. So in other words, you get a lot more headroom, and the advantage of that is that it helps in translating into a smoother force feedback delivery. You also get less heat buildup, which means getting a more consistent feel over long racing sessions. And that additional torque headroom means that subtle details don't get lost or compressed when you're combining multiple effects at once at the same time, helping to get an even better racing experience. Now let's jump into a race and test out the new Moza R25 Ultra. I've mounted it on my sim racing cockpit from Next Level Racing. This is the GT Elite, and I've paired the wheelbase with the Moza CRP2 pedals with the M booster as my brake pedal, and my wheel is the Lamborghini Formula wheel. First impressions, and seriously, it does feel really good, feeling refined and really smooth. The wheelbase actually features a 21-bit magnetic motor encoder, which allows each full rotation of the motor to be divided into just over 2 million discrete steps, which basically tells the wheelbase how far and fast you're moving it, converting the movements into a digital input so that you can use it in real time. And what this does, it helps in getting an accurate steering input detection, faster responses, helping to get a smoother and more refined force feedback, with this giving you better control. Inside the wheelbase, you have a zero cogging flat wire motor that offers 25% higher torque density, and this helps to ensure to give an ultra smooth rotation, helping to accurately reproduce details from steering inputs to aggressive cornering. The wheelbase has a real-time torque sensing, delivering a sampling accuracy of 0.1% and a response frequency of up to 2 kHz. This advanced torque sensor captures your steering input with precision, giving you sharper handling, tighter control, and a really good amount of detail. The wheelbase uses Moza's next-gen 4.0 force feedback algorithm that's available through the Moza Pithouse software, and this feature is available across all their wheelbases, helping to deliver very smooth torque with literally zero cogging, which is instantly noticeable when the wheel is started up. In terms of the racing experience, you get a really impressive amount of granular detail coming through the wheel. So the feeling you get from changes in the road surface, so when you're going from tarmac to grass, then over to gravel, where you're able to feel the car lift up slightly, and when you're driving over curbs, with you also feeling every single bump coming back to the wheel, feeling absolutely amazing. Now let's jump into a race and put the Fanatec Podium DD2 to the test. I've mounted the DD2 on my track racer TR120, and I've paired it with the Fanatec Club Sport pedals V3 and the Club Sport steering wheel Formula V2.5 rim. On this, the racing experience feels really powerful, precise and refined, similar to the R25 Ultra. The DD2 features a high-resolution magnetic position sensor that provides extremely accurate position tracking, allowing the wheelbase to translate every steering movement into precise digital inputs in real time. Fanatec aren't actually that clear regarding some technical detail on the wheelbase, but having done some research, it would seem the DD2 has a 16-bit encoder, which allows each rotation of the motor to be divided into just over 65,000 discrete steps. But in some articles and forums, I've read that in a teardown of the DD2, it actually has a 12-bit encoder, but their software boosts that to 16-bit, which is considerably lower than Moza's R25, but nevertheless, its steering accuracy and response time still feels pretty good, providing a smooth and consistent force feedback. The motor operates virtually free of notching, providing quite a fluid rotation and the ability to reproduce even the smallest surface details from the track, whether it's road texture, curbs, or suspension movement. The force feedback sensing had an extremely low latency, giving fast force feedback updates for a really responsive steering and finely detailed sensations. Now, comparing the two wheelbases against each other, the DD2 was released way back in December 2018 and the R25 Ultra has just been released in October 2025. But in the world of sim racing, a lot's changed in those 7 years, where Fanatec held the crown as the king of sim racing, but in a short amount of time, Moza pretty quickly shot to success. Looking at the two wheelbases, and they're both made from an aluminium alloy with a connection port at the front for the wheel, together with your ports at the back. But that's where the similarities end. The DD2 wheelbase is much bigger than the R25 Ultra, and I've added the dimensions on the screen for each one. The DD2 benefits from a telemetry display, whereas the R25 Ultra doesn't. Both feel incredibly smooth and refined, but they deliver that feeling in slightly different ways. The Moza R25 Ultra uses a 21-bit magnetic motor encoder, providing a massive level of coverage on a full rotation of 2 million discrete steps, compared to Fanatec's DD2, which has 16-bit full rotation coverage, or just over 16,000 discrete steps, meaning that even the very slightest movement is reported back. So in this respect, Moza's wheelbase has a much better coverage on the slightest of movements. But does this really matter and make a difference? Well, yeah, as it will, as you'll get better accuracy with minimal latency, and when you're making micro corrections mid-corner, for example, you'll feel the difference. In terms of the smoothness, they both felt very smooth with virtually no cogging, but the R25 Ultra just felt like it had more of an edge in providing a more refined and fluid experience. But don't get me wrong, the DD2 is not bad, if not just as good as the R25 Ultra, but once you fiddle around with the Moza's pit house software to tweak the settings to your preference, the R25 Ultra is seriously impressive. They both have wheels that connect to their respective wheelbases wirelessly, together with them having a quick release mechanism, but personally I've always preferred Moza's, with them getting the design and feel right from day one, providing a solid connection from the wheel to the wheelbase, whereas Fanatec's quick release mechanism has evolved over the years, which can be a little bit frustrating. So if you're invested in one of the existing quick release mechanisms, then upgrading comes at an additional cost. But remember, you don't have to upgrade, but the newer ones do have improved rigidity. They both have a PC app allowing you to customize settings on a granular level, with Fanatec providing an OLED display on the wheelbase to adjust settings, which is great. But personally, I'd say Moza has gone a step further, with them having a mobile phone app where you can make changes on the fly, and with this you'd connect to the wheelbase via Bluetooth. Fanatec did follow suit with this, but for their mobile app to work, you'll need to install the Fanatec Tray app on your PC, as there's no way for the app to connect to the wheelbase as it doesn't have Bluetooth. Moza has a gear shift vibration setting where you can feel some feedback when you shift gears. It's very subtle, even on the max setting, but generally seems to work well. And it's interesting to see they've even added a speaker where you can enable a startup sound, which makes me think, are they going to introduce something like Logitech's True Force to their wheelbases in the future? So it would be interesting to see how they develop things with that. Moza's wheelbase has LEDs on the side which look great, and you can either have them as a rev indicator, set them to a static color, or even turn them off. But personally, I think they're a little bit out of the way to clearly see them when you're racing, so not quite convinced on the value of having it. Moza also have a digital dash which you can buy separately to attach to the wheelbase, together with wheels that have touchscreen displays, so it actually feels like they've shot ahead in the evolution stakes from Fanatec. It's good that Fanatec provides a kill switch as part of the package, and I really do think that Moza should have done the same, as running the wheelbase on the higher torques levels really can be dangerous. So I'd have to say it's really essential to have that kill switch if you plan to run at the higher torque levels. And finally, price wise, the difference between the two is enormous, with the cost of the R25 Ultra being significantly cheaper at just 56% of the cost of the DD2, so providing much better value for money than Fanatec's DD2. So it'll be interesting to see if Fanatec drop their price to compete directly against them. But because of the price, I have to say Moza really does provide better value for money with physically more advanced hardware. But nevertheless, either way, both of these are absolutely top tier wheelbases that provide an excellent racing experience, with the amount of detail they provide being exceptional. Ecosystem wise, both have an extensive range of wheels, pedals, with shifters and handbrakes, with both the wheelbases supporting both a PC and Xbox. Although Fanatec has a larger selection of Xbox wheels, Moza, you could say, is the new kid on the block, with them only being around for 4 years, whereas Fanatec was founded in 1997. But in this relatively short period of time, Moza's ecosystem has evolved at a seriously rapid pace, with them developing new products quite regularly, with those products having a pretty impressive build quality. So there you have it, you've come to the end of another video, and let me know in the comments which wheelbase you think is better. Details are in the description below for all the products I've shown today, including purchasing links. And if you're still here, drop a best 25 in the comments, as it's awesome to see who's got to the end of my video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on all my socials, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to be notified of my next release. Thanks for viewing, and see you in the next one.